All right, folks, back here on the Bossman show, here with Coach Tic Price of the Lamar Cardinals out of the Southland Conference. Coach Price, how's life treating you guys down there in great Texas, man?
Well, between evacuating, we had two hurricanes to come through. We survived that. And then you had to get out of town because running from the hurricane, between that and COVID-19, basketball season seems to be pretty simple, man.
You got there. Well, I was going to ask you about the. I was asking about the hurricanes that came through there. I know that was a rough time for you guys, and during COVID too, you can't really be congregated together to evacuate. So, how was
Yeah.
that whole process dealing with those hurricanes that came through there the last few weeks there?
Well, we had to evacuate for Hurricane Laura, the first one. So that was a week missing our workouts. Then we got back. Then we had to quarantine our guys for like 2 weeks. We had three guys exposed, so we had to quarantine them, and then we had a couple test positive for COVID. So then we had to quarantine the whole team. So we missed 3 weeks of preparation, man, and we know we can't get it all back in one practice, but it really have eaten into our preparation and planning moving forward. So we just gotta do the best we can with the idea, one step at a time, one day at a time, and in hopes that by November the 25th, if that takes place, we'll have most of our stuff in, and maybe have a group of guys that we feel that we can trust putting them in a game to put us in a position to win those games.
Coach Price, with those 2 weeks getting cut off of the non-conference schedule, how has it been trying to schedule these games and dealing with quarantines in different states and trying to get guaranteed games, not go too far, knowing you can't really get on airplanes like you want to? So, how
Yeah.
has that been trying to get this schedule done with November 25th starting here and 2 weeks getting cut off of that period we can play non-conference games and make money for the university?
Well, you know what? Some of the Power Five teams have one cut their guarantees, so we won't get as much money. Some of them have cut those games completely, and so that caused us to scramble. Even right now in November, we still trying to get in October. We still trying to get games for our start date in November, and then we've had maybe a couple non D1s that we've scheduled at home. They can't play because they can't afford to test 3 times a week. That's part of the process and us playing our opponents. So we kind of been in scramble mode. So I have quite a few other Division One teams that depend on some of those guarantee games to pay the bills.
I've seen some of them contracts, Coach, and I saw the COVID clauses in them where they pretty much
Yeah,
paying you to travel. And like it's not worth my while is for you to come pay you to play you and it's to travel. I need something to benefit my athletic department. So I don't
yeah,
blame you going for that okie doke because I sure wouldn't do it. But I've seen some of the contracts, man, they a joke.
yeah. Well, they have put language in those contracts that protect the teams that's paying teams to come in. One, you got to test 3 times a week prior to that game. Uh, and in some cases, some of the Power Five teams have now gone to having a bubble. And that bubble can affect the date that you may be playing other teams. So with that being said, then you don't get to play maybe some of those Power Five teams. It's so many things, so many moving parts that's going on right now, man. You have to be flexible. You have to have patience, and you also got to make sure you keep in mind the number one priority, and that's the health and safety of your players.
Most definitely, Coach. Let's go back to March 11th. That's my birthday. When everything kind of went crazy, I'm at the Hawks.
Yeah,
I'm at the Hawks Knicks game, and I get a text saying the season's gonna be suspended on my birthday.
yeah.
I'm working, and then everything kind of goes down the tube here. So where was your team at on doing that March 11th week? Then having to go home virtually, finish out the semester. So how was that, Coach, for you and your staff and your players dealing with being on campus at Lamar? They had been back at home trying to finish out the semester and stay safe.
Well, we were in the midst of playing in the second round of our conference tournament. We just had a good win the night before in the first round against McNeese, and we were getting ready to uh, prepare for Nickel State the next night. Actually, we were in shoot around, and I got a call from my athletic director that all games would be suspended for the tournament and that we were to go home. And so I immediately huddled my team up and told them we would not be playing the tournament the rest of the way. I felt bad for the seniors. Their whole demeanor looked like you let the air out of them. So they didn't get a chance, man, to at least finish their senior season, a fair chance to compete for a championship. That's what they played hard for. And we were playing well at that time. But again, uh, we got to make sure that those kids are in good health, and that's more important than a basketball. So we packed up, loaded the bus, and headed back to Beaumont, Texas. And at that time, it was spring break, and so I told all of them go home and spend time with their families. When they get back, hopefully we could maybe come up with a solution to COVID-19. That was back in March, and we still haven't come up with a
You
solution.
got that right. Well, I'm still, hey, unfortunately, Coach, I live in Georgia, live in Texas. Our states don't too much care for science, so we know how it's going right now.
I know, man. It's been a crazy time because you don't know how to plan from day to day. Uh, you don't know if your season's going to take place. Uh, if a kid catches uh, COVID-19 during the year, then that means that your other players might have to quarantine for 14 days. So now you might have to postpone 3 games
Mm.
because everybody's quarantined, including the coach. So it's going to be a crazy time for us. Hopefully we can have a basketball season. Everybody can stay healthy. They got right now on the table, the officials will have to use a mask to call the game, and they have an electronic whistle uh, to use to call the games. And so
Wow.
there's a lot of things that's going on right now for college basketball.
Now, Coach, for how to keep your guys in shape, did you all send them things over via the Zoom and FaceTime over the summertime and spring to kind of keep them in semi-shape, doing what they can do at home? Some of them have hoops and out in their backyards to be able to get to a gym. Did you all kind of keep them in semi-shape with little exercises here and there with your strength coach, trying to keep them so they won't come back and have those horrible soft tissue or nagging injuries that you last all year long?
Yeah, we did. We sent each guy a workout program, and then we asked those guys to send us some video of their workouts. Uh, we didn't get all the workouts. Some of them didn't go through, wasn't being pushed to where they need to be so they could be in shape when they got back. So that was an extra burden on us once they get back, and we got to work to get them in shape. And so that's kind of what phase we in right now. They can't play Division I basketball if you're not in good shape. So we're having to put in a few things uh, in terms of what we want to do defensively, some plays that we want to use offensively, but at the same time try to do conditioning as well. Uh, this is, and there are other teams going through very similar problems. So this is going to be a very challenging year for us all.
Most definitely. Now, Coach, as far as on the Zoom calls this offseason, how do you use your platform and talk to young men about what's going on in our country? Because I know, I'm in my 30s, your guys in their 20s and their teens. So, knowing what's going on and seeing what's going on with them, how do you use your time with your young men to keep their mind stimulated and engaged and understand that, hey, the problems of our country are coming to roost again and that we ain't make a change about this? And how do you kind of inspire them in that regard?
Well, I mean, I can tell them back. I take them back and bring them all the way up to now about how uh, black folk has been treated unjustly, how hatred has caused uh, parties to not come together but stay apart. Uh, and I tell them every day how important it is, one, to vote. Our whole team will vote, just like most teams in the country. We'll take that one day off. I think it's November the 3rd. Use that day with no practice, but take the whole team to vote. And we got all of our guys registered this summer. So we plan to exercise this right. And I also have to give them some education on why you're voting. We have done that. I tell them, vote, the choice is yours, don't vote, and the choice is theirs. And so I try to emphasize to them, your vote is your voice. And we start looking at early voting. November the 3rd, I think it's going to be a lot of folk waiting at last minute to
Oh
vote.
yeah.
Yeah, so we're trying to look at the early voting option as well as November 3rd option. But we're all going to vote. That's for sure.
Most definitely. I know here in Georgia, people are waiting 8, 9 hours to vote here in Georgia. That's
Yeah.
suppression stuff, and it's sad, that I can go. I live in the suburbs, and I can see how quick it is out here in the suburbs. But in the city of Atlanta,
Yeah.
they out there in the rain and the wind and then whatever, 8, 9 hours. That's a whole day of work for some people, Coach. That's a day of work for some people. They missing pay just to exercise their right to vote, which I'm glad they're doing it, but it shouldn't be that way. It's
Yeah.
sad to say.
Yeah, it is. But kudos to those people who wait until their time is to vote. If they spend 8 hours, if it takes 10 hours, stay there. Do that because this is probably one of the most important elections in the history of politics. And if we don't vote, then there's a chance that things are not going to get better, plain and simple.
And I can tell you, Coach, Coach, our station here and my show we have sponsors. We're giving people food and drinks and giving them while they're in line, encourage them to stay in line because, like you said, Coach, it's so important. I know you're the age group where my parents are. And they grew up here in Atlanta, we were segregated here in Atlanta. So they told me all about their stories, how they wanted to vote, how they fought the right to vote, and for freedom and segregating schools. So me being in my 30s, my parents told me I know it's real, and I don't want to see us slip back to the time of my parents when you and y'all were growing up because I know how what y'all told me. I know how it is, and I don't want that to happen for my people now. So I'm trying to do that again with this show and our station here to give people food, drinks, keep them encouraging lines so they don't leave. And say that unfortunately, if you wait that long, we will try to help you and encourage you and keep you nourished while you're there.
Well, and while we try to educate our student athletes to vote, we also got to educate them on looking at everything that's going on around us. There are politicians that's trying to suppress the vote by putting only one booth in one whole county. I mean, that's crazy. Or they trying to say to send your vote in the mail, there's a chance that it could be tampered with, or you can vote 2 times. All kinds of negative thoughts. But don't be discouraged. Let's go ahead and do what we're supposed to do. Let's take care of our business and make sure that our voices are heard.
Most definitely, Coach. Now, Coach, you're going to your 8th year at Lamar. Does it feel like you've been there that long, Coach? They've been there 8 years. Does it feel like it? Is it all just flown by for you?
Yeah, it has. I've been real fortunate, man. I'm in a good situation. I work with some good people. My president and AD has been very supportive. Our fans, probably some of the most loyal fans in our conference. I've been surrounded by some good players and that's basically not giving me any trouble off the court. Man, I've been blessed. Every one of the kids that I've coached that have exhausted their eligibility have gotten a degree. So that's 100% graduation rate. To me, that's a blessing, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So these kids, they get it. They're trying to prepare for life after basketball, and we're trying to prepare them when they leave school and try to help them. If basketball is not part of their future, they still got their degree and they still can be successful.
Most definitely, coach. And I feel that's the biggest important part is being a student athlete part because that degree can take you places. Because
Yeah,
like you said, for me, the basketball court stopped for me. I end up getting
yeah.
into the media, right? So that degree helped me to do what I'm doing today. I'm an example of that. So the fact that you care about your young men getting that degree, which is very important, and make them also great husbands and fathers, and as they go through their life journey. I mean, it's amazing, coach, that you've done for young men from your days at Memphis to McNeese, wherever you've been. You've impacted young men's lives, and that's so I would commend you for that, coach. And I watched you from I told you last year. I watched you from afar. And I was known about it, but I just want to tell you again, it's amazing to see what you do for young men like just like me who are growing up like me. So I thank you so much for what you do for these young men, coach.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, but that's part of the responsibility of being a coach. You don't just coach basketball; you teach them life, prepare them with life skills, and hope that when they leave you, uh, they'll be ready for the challenges of life.
Most definitely. And that, coach, for my listeners out here who really don't know about the Southland Conference, like I know about the Southland Conference, tell them about how tough this conference is, coach. Like, you got some great coaches in your conference, great teams. Tell them, listen about how tough this conference is, man. How it's going to be this year, as it is every year. Every night, no easy out.
Man, every night it's a fight. We've got some outstanding coaches in our leagues. Take, for instance, Stephen F. Austin, go to Duke last year and walk away with a win. One of the biggest upsets in college basketball. Stephen F. Austin. Not many people go in the Cameron Field House and walk out of there with a win.
Definitely.
Stephen F. Austin did that. But they got some players, and they're well coached. Sam Houston, Jason Hooten has done a good job over there. Year in and year out, they're in the hunt for a championship. Willis Wilson over Texas Corpus Christi, same thing. I mean, we have got a conference where you have got to be prepared, know your scouting report, and you can't take a night off. That you're going to leave after that 40 minutes with an L, and that's just the way it is. Uh, it's a one bid league, and so teams play with that kind of chip on their shoulder.
Most
They want to
definitely.
make sure they get to the dance. So there's uh, a feel for urgency every time you step between the lines.
And coach, what people really don't realize is outside of Baylor, Texas, and TCU, man, there's some dogs in the other conferences, North Texas,
Yeah,
UTEP,
yeah,
UTSA. I
yeah,
mean, it's some dogs. Texas State down there as well. So to tell Texas has so many great programs, and it's a tough hour in that state every night. The basketball in D1 in Texas is one of a kind. So many schools in one state, man. I mean, it's just up and down the state, east, west, wherever you are, it's a tough battle no matter what you're going to do.
yeah. I mean, one, you gotta be able to recruit the state. You gotta know people. You gotta have some contacts. Uh, I think these kids in Texas have, in the past, have gotten out of the state going to other schools, but now they tend to want to stay at home. Um, and so, with that being said, a lot of schools are capitalizing from this. In particular, North Texas, that team has really done well. SMU, they raised their game, man. They're good. TCU, Jamie Dixon has gone over there and turned that thing into a powerhouse. Uh, I mean, you just never know in the state what team is going to be a dominant team because there's so much parity in the state of Texas in college basketball.
So I got for a coach's recruiting question. How's it been to recruit via Zoom and show guys the campus via Zoom and do virtual recruiting? I know you probably want to be in a home with a parent and a kid, but doing it via Zoom, how's the experience been? Is that something you keep doing going forward?
Well, you know what? You have to adjust to the times, man. I mean, I personally I like face to face interaction with people, sit in the living room with the parents, but that's not possible. And so you got to come up with creative ways on your Zoom call to capture that kid's attention. For instance, you got to have a virtual uh, visit where you take the kid on a campus tour. Now, you got to not just take him on the tour, but you got to make it exciting that you can capture his imagination on that tour. You show them your facilities. Your assistant coaches have got to be able to create an image that speak volumes to a kid. And then, of course, I've got to try to close a deal on a phone call or a Zoom call, and which makes it very difficult.
Most definitely. With Coach Price, well, I'm hoping more guys from the city of Atlanta come your way. They play for you. They'll play for a great man, a great coach. So, Coach, thanks for coming on the show again. We got to do this again real soon. I'll be definitely cheering for the Lamar Cardinals and you, man, this year for sure in that conference, man.
Hey, man, I enjoyed seeing you again, man. And look, you ever in Texas, come see us.
Hey, Coach, as soon as I know the schedule with the Hawks, you got.
All right, sounds good.
Hey, are you close to Houston or Dallas or San Antonio? Which one are you closest to? Or New Orleans?
I'm close to Houston. I'm about an hour and a half from Houston.
Okay, we get that rocket schedule. I'll let you know, and I'll make that drive over to see you, Coach.
All right, sounds good. You're welcome anytime.
Thanks, Coach Price. Have a good one, buddy.
All right, thank you, man.
No problem. It's Tic Price on the Bossman Show.